godfather, I'm royalty. It's life with the princess. Okay, alright.
Hey everybody, it's me, your girl Tamar Braxton, and I'm with the princess from the Life with the Princess show, the voice of her generation. Yeah, baby.
We are the Heather Hills Philanthropists, and we listen to Life with the Princess radio show, the voice of our generation.
Hey everyone, it's me, Miracle, #the Princess, and welcome to my radio show called Life with the Princess Radio, the voice of my generation. My show is about kids, and it's also for kids, and it's about giving God the glory. You can check me out on YouTube, on Life with the Princess channel, on Instagram, and on Musically at Life with the Princess. I want to start off with something I call Miracle's Moment. Take the time to do something nice for someone else each day. Your act of kindness can make someone very happy. This week, another school shooting, this time at Great Falls High School in St. Mary's County, Maryland. A male student shot 2 students before an armed school resource officer shot and killed him. One of the students, 16-year-old Jalen Wiley, was later taken off of life support. Today, thousands of students are expected in D.C. for the March for Our Lives. They're marching for more gun control in the wake of Parkland school shooting in Florida. The organizers of rally are demanding universal background checks, a ban of assault weapons, and better mental health reporting. The rally begins at noon in Pennsylvania Avenue, and it was organized by students at Major Stoneman Douglas High School. The rally will feature speeches and performances by Ariana Grande, Demi Lovato, and Lin-Manuel Miranda. Here is Emmy Gonzalez, a student at the Parkland school shooting and one of the march organizers, talking about the reason for the march.
I know this looks like a lot, but these are my AP Gov notes. They haven't already had a moment of silence in the House of Representatives, so I would like to have another one. Thank you. Every single person up here today, all these people should be at home grieving. But instead, we are up here, standing together because if all our government and president can do is send thoughts and prayers, then it's time for victims to be the change that we need to see. Fathers, and since they added the Second Amendment to the Constitution, our guns have developed at a rate that leaves me dizzy. The guns have changed and the laws have not. We certainly do not understand why it should be harder to make plans with friends on weekends than it is to buy an automatic or semi-automatic weapon. In Florida, to buy a gun, you do not need a permit, you do not need a gun license, and once you buy it, you do not need to register it. You do not need a permit to carry a concealed rifle or shotgun. You can buy as many guns as you want at one time. I read something very powerful to me today. It was from the point of view of a teacher, and I quote, "When adults tell me I have the right to own a gun, all I can hear is, my right to own a gun outweighs your student's right to live. All I can hear is mine, 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 mine." Instead of worrying about our AP Gov Chapter 16 test, we have to be studying our notes to make sure that our arguments based on politics and political history are watertight. The students of this school have been having debates on guns for what feels like our entire lives. AP Gov had about 3 debates this year. Some discussions on the subject even occurred during the shooting while students were hiding in the closets. The people involved right now, those who were there, those posting, those tweeting, those doing interviews and talking to people, are being listened to for what feels like the very first time about this topic that has come up over 1,000 times in the past 4 years alone. I found out today that there's a website called shootingtracker.com. Nothing in the title suggests that it is exclusively tracking the USA's shootings, and yet, does it need to address that? Because Australia had one mass shooting in 1999 and Port Arthur massacre introduced gun safety, and they haven't had one since. Japan has never had a mass shooting. Canada has had 3, and the UK had 1, and they both introduced gun control, and yet here we are with websites dedicated to reporting these tragedies so that they can be formulated into statistics at your convenience. I watched an interview this morning and noticed that one of the questions was, do you think your children will have to go through other school shooter drills? And our response is that our neighbors will not have to go through other school shooter drills when we have had our say with the government, and maybe the adults have gotten used to saying it is what it is, but if us students have learned anything, it's that if you don't study, you will fail. And in this case, if you actively do nothing, people continually end up dead. So it's time to start doing something. We are going to be the kids that you read about in textbooks. Not because we are going to be another statistic about mass shootings in America, but because, just as David said, we are going to be the last mass shooting. Just like Tinker v. Des Moines, we are going to change the law. That's going to be Marjorie Stoneman Douglas in that textbook. And it's all going to be due to the tireless effort of the school board, the faculty members, the family members, and most importantly, the students. The students who are dead, the students still in the hospital, the students who are now suffering from PTSD, the students who had panic attacks during the vigil because the helicopters who wouldn't leave us alone, hovering over the school 24 hours a day. There has been one tweet that I would like to call attention to. So many signs that the Florida shooter was mentally disturbed, even expelled for bad and erratic behavior. Neighbors and classmates knew he was a big problem, must always report such instances to authorities again and again. We did, time and time again. Since he was in middle school, it was no surprise to anyone who knew him to hear that he was the shooter. Those talking about how we should have not ostracized him, you didn't know this kid. Okay, we did. We know that they're claiming that there are mental health issues, and I am not a psychologist, but we need to pay attention to the fact that this isn't just a mental health issue. He wouldn't have harmed that many students with a knife. How about we stop blaming the victims for something that was the shooter's fault? The fault of the people who let him buy the guns in the first place, those at the gun shows, the people who encouraged him to buy accessories for his guns to make them fully automatic, the people who didn't take them away from him when they knew that he expressed homicidal tendencies. And I am not talking about the FBI. I am talking about the people that he lived with. I'm talking about the neighbors who saw him outside holding guns. If the president wants to come up to me and tell me to my face that it was a terrible tragedy and how it should never have happened, and maintain telling us how nothing is going to be done about it, I'm going to happily ask him how much money he received from the National Rifle Association. in 2018 alone, that comes out to being $5,800. Is that how much these people are worth to you, Trump? If you don't do anything to prevent this from continuing to occur, that number of gunshot victims will go up, and the number that they are worth will go down. And we will be worthless to you. To every politician who is taking donations from the NRA, shame on you. Would your first thought be, how is this going to reflect on my campaign? Which should I choose? Or would you choose us? And if you answered us, will you act like it for once? You know what would be a good way to act like it? I have an example of how not to act like it. In February of 2017, 1 year ago, President Trump repealed an Obama-era regulation that would have made it easier to block the sale of firearms to people with certain mental illnesses. Shooter before the shooting and the information that I currently know about him, I don't really know if he was mentally ill, but I wrote this before I heard what Delaney said. Delaney said that he was diagnosed. I don't need a psychologist, and I don't need to be a psychologist to know that repealing that regulation was a really dumb idea. Republican Senator Chuck Grassley of Iowa was the sole sponsor on this bill that stops the FBI from performing background checks on people adjudicated to be mentally ill, and now he's stating for the record, well, it's a shame that the FBI isn't doing background checks on these mentally ill people. Well, duh! You took that opportunity away last year! The people in the government who are voted into power are lying to us. And us kids seem to be the only ones who notice and are prepared to call BS. Companies trying to make caricatures of the teenagers nowadays, saying that all we are is self-involved and trend-obsessed, and they hush us into submissions when our message doesn't reach the ears of the nation, we are prepared to call BS. Politicians who sit in their gilded House and Senate seats funded by the NRA telling us nothing could have ever been done to prevent this, we call BS. They say that tougher gun laws do not decrease gun violence. We call BS. They say a good guy with a gun stops a bad guy with a gun. We call BS. They say guns are just tools like knives and are as dangerous as cars. We call BS. No, they say that no laws could have been able to prevent the hundreds of senseless tragedies that have occurred. We call BS. That us kids don't know what we're talking about, that we're too young to understand how the government works. We call BS. If you agree, register to vote. Contact your local congresspeople. Give them a piece of your mind.
That was Emma Gonzalez. There are more than 800 marches planned worldwide. They will include speeches by students about how gun violence has affected them. Let me tell you on how gun violence was affected to me. 2 weeks ago, my upstairs neighbor was shot and killed not far from my apartment building in Greenbelt, Maryland. I was home when I heard gunshots. My mother rushed me to safety away from the windows. When I found out that my neighbor was dead, I was sad and so scared. I had just seen him earlier that night when he passed by me in the hallway when we got home. I didn't know that would be the last time I would ever see him ever again. Gabriel Hernandez Drake, or as we call him, Los, had 4 beautiful babies that I got a chance to meet. For more than a week, I was too afraid to sleep in my own bedroom, so my mom let me sleep in her room. I was afraid to go back in the back of my building because that's where I heard the gunshots coming from. When I heard that the police arrested the man who did it, I was relieved. I was already scared about the school shooting in Florida because of what happened in Parkland, Florida. And then I was scared about being home. Before the shooting happened, I heard that someone else was shooting in my parking lot, but no one was hurt, thank God. My mother tried to comfort me. She told me that I was safe and that she would never let any harm come to me. So she said that God is covering me, and that means that there could be trouble all around me, but it wouldn't hurt me because God is protecting me. We have to take a break, but when we come back, we'll have Miracle's message and Miracle's word of the day.
I need to tell you this right now. Make sure God's first. Love God, serve God, and walk with God. Be in His light and love Him. Okay. God is my Father. Yes, He's the King. I am the princess, so I'm royalty. P-R to the I-N-C, E to the double S. God is my Father. Yes, He's the King. I'm the princess, so I'm royalty. P-R to the I-N-C, E to the double S. Okay. P-R to the I-N-C, E to the double S. Alright. God is my Father. I'm royalty. It's life with the princess. Okay. Alright.
Hey everybody, it's me, your girl Tamar Braxton, and I'm with the princess from the Life with the Princess show, the voice of her generation. Yeah, baby.
We are the Heather Hills Philanthropists, and we listen to Life with the Princess radio show, the voice of our generation.
Welcome back to Life with the Princess radio show, the voice of my generation. I'm your host, Miracle, #The Princess. This month is Women's History Month, and we're celebrating Black women with all backgrounds. Today, we honor Baltimore State's Attorney Marilyn Mosby. She's the youngest chief prosecutor of any major U.S. city. In 2015, she charged 6 police officers in the death of Freddie Gray, a Black man who was killed while in police custody. CNN did a feature on Mosby. Take a listen.
After her 17-year-old cousin was gunned down on her doorstep in broad daylight, Marilyn Mosby had her first brush with the justice system.
Having to go to court and deal with prosecutors, having to go to court and see my neighbor who had the courage and audacity to cooperate with the police, to testify in court, and the way in which the district attorney's office dealt with my family is something that inspired me.
That was back in 1994, when an office at Baltimore City Hall wasn't even on her radar. Mosby grew up in Boston, where her mother and father were police officers, and her grandfather was one of the first African-American police officers in Massachusetts. She talked about how that impacts her view with CNN's Don Lemon.
I think it gives me a well-rounded perspective. You know, I come from 5 generations of police officers, so law enforcement is instilled. I understand the time, the commitment, the sacrifice that these police officers make.
In 2002, Mosby became a first-generation college graduate, graduating magna cum laude from Tuskegee University in Alabama. She went on to study law at Boston College. After graduating law school in 2005, she joined the Baltimore City Attorney's Office as an assistant DA. Mosby worked as an insurance company lawyer before making this bold announcement in 2013.
I am running for state's attorney for Baltimore City.
She won, vowing to be more aggressive on police misconduct.
Our time is now.
35-year-old Marilyn Mosby just took office in January. Now she's at the center of the Freddie Gray case, with her decision to charge the 6 officers involved in his fatal arrest. Without directing her comments to the Gray case, she told Don Lemon officers must be accountable.
Those officers that usurp their authority, you have to be able to hold them accountable, because it does a disservice to the really hardworking police officers. And so for me, it's about applying justice fairly and equally to those with or without a badge.
Even so, that hasn't stopped the police union from calling for her to recuse herself from the Gray case, citing the fact her husband, Nick Mosby, is a Baltimore city councilman.
I uphold the law. He makes the laws. And I will prosecute any case within my jurisdiction.
But this isn't just any case. And for a DA who has never tried a murder case before, there is no room for error. Randy Kay, CNN, New York.
Now it's time for Miracle's Word of the Day. Miracle's Word of the Day is gun control. It means the regulation of the sale, ownership of use of guns. Now time for Miracle's message. Today's message comes from Isaiah 54:17. No weapon that is formed against you will prosper, and every tongue that accuses you in judgment will you condemn. That means nothing that comes against you, you will succeed. Now it's time for some weird news. A Florida man was reunited with the cat he lost 14 years ago. He assumed that the cat died in traffic. He moved with the friend after a hurricane in 2004, and a few days later, the cat escaped and never returned home. The man had a microchip implanted in the cat in 2002. Like, what sense does that make? Anyway, Animal Services called him a few weeks ago and told him that his cat was in a shelter. So, I will be hosting the Ignite Your Passion Children's Conference on Saturday, April 28th from 1 to 3 p.m. at the Rise Center on MLK Avenue in Southeast DC. So, I need to tell you guys something right now. As you know, I am 9, but in 2 months, in May, I am going to turn 10 on May 5th. But, yeah, so I'm going to be turning 10 in May 5th, but on May 12th, I'm going to have my own birthday party. A Hollywood-styled event. No, I'm not going to Hollywood, but it's going to look like you are in Hollywood. So, yeah, I'm inviting a whole lot of friends. There are going to be 5 VIPs. You hear that? 5 VIPs. So, I'm not going to tell you guys yet, but I will tell you guys later. So, yeah, I'm excited for turning 10 because I finally get to be my best friend's age. She turned 10 in February. So, yeah, it's going to be a whole lot going on. By the way, my cat who's 1 and going to be turning 2 in August, like, girl, you growing up fast. Get young again. I want you to be 12 weeks like you were before when I first got you. So, yeah, she's very, funny. Because I one time posted this video of my cat, Alexanderella. I know, very long and very weird name. But Alexanderella on my YouTube channel when she was mad and meowing really madly. My mom asked, "Are you mad or not?" She said, it was so funny. Like, she's the most cutest thing I've ever seen in my whole entire life. Except for my old dog, but I'm not going to talk about that. But anyway, she is so cute, so funny. She attacks your legs for no reason, but I still think she's cute. And for some reason, I feel like me and Alex are bonding more. Like, whenever I'm going somewhere, she always goes in between my legs and rub her fur against my legs. I'm like, you do this every single day, girl. Take a chill pill. What, am I your mother or something? I mean, like, I would consider your mother, but sister. But am I your mother or something? But she is so cute, so adorbs. I'm like, I'm gonna, faint. So this TV show called Andy Mack, I've been watching for like 2 days now, and I'm almost up to the last episode of season 2. I'm gonna give you a little bit into it. So Andy Mack is used to be a 12-year-old girl who just turned 13. Her sister was actually her secret mother, and she doesn't know who her father is. So, yeah, and her 2 friends help her go through things. Her crush, honestly, I forgot his name already. But anyway, her crush secretly has a crush on her. And I mean, like, the TV show is amazing. I can't stop watching it, like, literally. So now there's a humongous twist on it. I'm not going to tell you guys yet unless if you watch the TV show on Andy's best friend. You must watch it. And it is so awesome. So, yeah, that's pretty much all I got to tell you. So for booking information or to be a guest on the show, email me at lifewiththeprincess@gmail.com. Thank you for listening to my show called Life with the Princess Radio. You can check me out on YouTube, on Life with the Princess channel, on Instagram, and on Musical.ly. Don't forget about that Musical.ly at Life with the Princess. My radio show is on every second and fourth Saturday of the month from 10:30 to 11 here on WOLB 1010 AM Baltimore. Talk to you again on April 14th.
I need to tell you this right now. Make sure God's first. Love God, serve God, and walk with God. Be in His light and love Him. Okay. God is my Father. Yes, He's the King. I am the princess, so I'm royalty. P-R to the I-N-C, E to the double S. God is my Father. Yes, He's the King. I am the princess, so I'm royalty. P-R to the I-N-C, E to the double S. Okay. P-R to the I-N-C, E to the double S. Alright. God is my Father, I'm royalty. It's Life with the Princess. Okay, alright.
Hey everybody, it's me, your girl Tamar Braxton, and I'm with the princess from the Life with the Princess show, the voice of her generation. Yeah, baby.
We are the Heather Hills Philanthropists, and we listen to Life with the Princess radio show, the voice of our generation.